Hello, my name's Karen. I'm one of the neurodisability nurses at Reigate Children's Centre, and today we're going to talk about sleep. So what do we know about sleep? You've probably been told lots of different things throughout the life of your child, but what we do know is that sleep is absolutely essential as it allows our brain to sort out information which helps with learning and concentration, and lots of ASD children have lots of problems with concentration. It also allows our body to repair itself so it keeps us healthy and allows us to grow. And if you think about the old phrase of, you look like you've grown overnight. Individuals require different amounts of sleep, and some need lots of others, whilst others need less. However, it is also true that trying to put your child onto a little table of how much sleep you need is very difficult, so we also look at that. It also affects our moods and behaviours. And if you haven't had a good night's sleep and you're a little bit anxious or short-tempered, then this probably comes after not having a good night's sleep. And who will this affect? Well, finally, in the house, if you are having lots of sleepless nights, you have lots of brothers and sisters, and mums and dads aren't getting sleep, this is going to affect the whole household. Throughout the past 20 years, there's been lots of research into sleep, and it has been recommended to improve your sleep. It is important to A, sleep at regular times, so going to bed and waking up at the same time also. Having a quiet hour before bed to relax and unwind. Some children like baths, whilst others may find this more overstimulating, so it may be appropriate to do it at a different time. Encourage your child to engage in activities like drawing, reading or colouring, as hand-eye coordination is really good at calming. Importantly, discourage children from using technology the hour before, because the devices that we use provide a range of light that inhibits our melatonin, and this can prevent your child going to sleep. So think about the environment. The bedroom environment needs to be somewhere where your child can sleep, and this can be really difficult if your child plays in there. So to try and keep this as calm as possible, put all toys away. You only need a shoebox and you can cover it up. Getting into your child's bed, which is comfy. Are the sheets prickly? Is there a shadow that could be scary? Night lights might be appropriate. Red and orange are supposed to promote really good sleep. Finally, encourage your child to go to sleep independently. We sleep in cycles. We have a light sleep and then we have a deep sleep. The light sleep is where your child may become fully awake if you get in bed with them. And we often find that this is a common cause for why children are waking frequently, so then we would look at self-soothing. This can take a long time, but it is vital to do it. And you need to be asking yourself, it might be okay now at 5 or 6 years old, but what's going to happen when they're 10 or 11? And also one of the basic things sometimes that we miss are the basic needs for children. Is your child hungry, thirsty, got tummy ache, need to go to the toilet, constipated, too hot or too cold? You may have been told about social imagination before, but social imagination plays a massive part of the role within ASD. And what is it? Social imagination allows us to understand what may happen next. And children with a diagnosis of ASD find this very, very difficult. So we need to look at alternative strategies of how we can parent children who are different from the neurotypical type. We can also use neurotypical type strategies. Children may find concepts of time difficult and hard to imagine. It's a very abstract idea, it's not concrete. So how do we know what time we're going to go to bed and what a predictable routine may be? Because this may be really difficult for children to understand with the expectation of bedtimes. Looking at timetables and visuals may provide this scaffolding. What about making sense of rules? Mum says I can stop up on a Friday night, but not on a weekend. So why not? Rules are something we learn but may not always make sense of. So when a child asks about why do I need to go to bed when you're still up, try a social story. Maybe an idea to use that to explain why it's important the child needs to sleep. So we also know that managing emotions, part of the ASD profile, and not having a predictable routine can lead to lots of dysregulations of emotions. And I'm saying dysregulation of emotions because it may not be anxiety, it may be excitement. Using things that may calm them is very important, but using a mixture of these strategies to explore how the child manages the emotions is important. We run a workshop for the psychologists for over 8 years old that may help. What about sensory difficulties? If you lay your child's bed, what kind of sensory difficulties have they got? Do they have any? Do you need to put some sensory information in, avoiding some sensory information as well? What about literal interpretation? I never feel tired, so why do I go to bed? You can use social stories again. What about social communication? When you're tired or missing the cues of being tired, And this goes along with the uncertainty. What about mums and dads? Am I working tonight? I don't like dad putting me to bed because he doesn't do it like mum. Because that's a change of routine and the expectation is very different. So let's look at a case study, and we're looking at the need for sameness and literal interpretation and how does the child anticipate the changes. Katie is 8 years old. Teachers have noticed that she is falling asleep during lessons. Her behaviour has also been challenging at times, but this has improved since school have started using a visual timetable. When she gets home from school, she's having a half an hour nap. Katie does not have a particular bedtime routine. She often has a bath and supper at some point during the evening. She always eats her supper in front of the TV. Katie finds it hard to settle to sleep and will get up multiple times before going to sleep as late as midnight. Mum often lays with her until she goes to sleep. Katie often wakes during the night and will shout for mum when she does. If we think about Katie's strong need for sameness, a visual timetable has helped at school. So maybe she might be finding it difficult to make sense of what she needs. Katie's developed her own routine around needing her mum in bed to settle her to sleep, and this is a habit that may need to be changed. We think about Katie's difficulties with social communication. She may find it difficult to read the signs for bedtime. She may find it hard to understand why she needs to go to bed, particularly if others are still up, a common problem that we come across. If we think about difficulties with social imagination, Katie might find it difficult to fall asleep when she is not tired, as she hasn't had a nap on the bus. Katie falls asleep with mum and probably likes this, so why does she need to go into her own bed? And finally, Katie may use her room to play in, so may need to be more relaxing for her to go to sleep. If we think about sensory difficulties and differences, are Katie's bed sheets a different texture? What about the weight or the tog of the blanket? Are the bed sheets tucked in? Do they need to be free? Katie visually may see mum's room as being more calm. She may prefer the smell. Is there sounds in a room which may need an explanation, which you can use a social story for? So again, by breaking down the situation, it can help us identify any specific areas of difficulty, and your child might have one element that is more stronger than another. Maybe it's a sensory element, or maybe it's the timing, or perhaps it could be the routine that's important. Here are some real good top tips for sleep. Focus on getting a really good routine. We know children with autism like routine and structure because it's what they expect. It teaches them independence, self-soothing and gradual retreat. Think about sensory issues, sitting in their bedroom, think about bedding, lights, and be very realistic about the amount of sleep your child needs, because often it's parents that need the sleep and not the child. Avoid daytime naps. If children are on school transport, are they napping on the way home, which will impact the time they go to sleep at bedtime? Avoiding stimulating activities close to bedtime and on waking. If your child wakes in the night, encourage them to go back to their bed. And finally, make that bedroom safe for children who wake really early. Some of you may have heard of melatonin, and some children do need melatonin. However, we know that melatonin can only be used to induce sleep, and it would not be our first option. Sleep strategies are the most important. You may have tried them before, but your child may not have been ready to accept them, so it's important to try them again and go back to basics, using the visuals and now and then. It's also important to maintain them. Melatonin has different trade names, including circadian and selenito. Melatonin is not a sleeping tablet, but it enhances our production of a hormone which induces sleep. Melatonin does not work if technology is used, so we need to switch that off. And research suggests that a behavioural approach may reach 2.5 hours sleep, whereas giving melatonin may only give an extra 20 minutes. But it takes time. These are a few places that we identify for resources. At the Children's, we have gathered resources which you may find useful. The National Autistic Society has lots of information, obviously not just about sleep, but also about other areas of ASD. We also have Cerebra, which offers a sleep service. And we also have the Sleep Charity. But with regards to sleep, change one thing at a time and remember, be patient, be consistent and be repetitive. So further resources can be found on Sheffield Children's website. All you need to put in is sleep and ASD. You can also put in sensory issues because there's lots of overlap. There's lots of information on there. When your child was diagnosed, a post-diagnostic pack was sent out. If you still have this pack, have a look in there. There's lots of information with regards to sleep, but everything else that we've covered as well. It's important that this is kept. If you haven't been sent one, please contact us on 30533138 and we can send one out to you, as I am aware that some parents may not have had this as their child might have been diagnosed previously a few years ago.